though, they were the main attraction because the musicians were there to share the stage.
The first thing that would come out of...
I know one time I heard him say, "You don't make mistakes here."
That was a community, jazz. I mean, when all the different clubs, every week.
The most memorable thing for New Haven, street, you know, that's where everybody went, starting from the...
It had been a thriving industrial community after the Civil War. There was a small black community of about 3,000 people.
Workers had moved into low-level or unskilled jobs in rubber, iron,
He worked for Yale, so they knew him, you know. And it was the only black band that...
showcased Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, and others.
Al Cooper and the Savoy Sultans. These were bands, and in the band...
Pieces by using local musicians that were in the union.
That's the strangest thing. We had a union.
So silly. They had two... well, the country has been silly for years. People in separate camps, which is pretty silly.
So in the jazz clubs, they couldn't keep us out.
Their own union.
Driven by discrimination among white theater booking agents, black
would say, "What is all this foolishness? Why don't we get one thing here?" And they said, "Well..."
Minds changed. It was decided that
concerning his playing with the symphony. Willie, as you know, is a very accomplished musician. His pattern kept a lot of talented musicians.
Couldn't go into the Taft Hotel. You couldn't get a room down there.
It is one of the places that everyone, and that my father was such a gentleman and such a wonderful human being.
Married to Hilda Rogers, who was a beautiful black female, and
Black class act.
The White Tie and Tails.
Entertainers of that time. He and his partner were the first black dancers.
Spoke 7 languages fluently. They entertained style for other blacks to come behind him. So that's really, I think, what I'm...
A nice guy. But in running his business, you had
the pocketbook you had, you know, it was so nice.
And I used to try to walk in and sneak around, you know, and sit down.
With shirts, and we'd go in, and Greenlee would say, look at us. And
time that Mr. Greenlee saw me, and he had a plan, and I didn't...
What you need, Mr. G? And he'd take the money out, give it to the bank book. Said, this is the money I borrowed from you. You didn't have sense enough to save it.
Interest in people, and to really wanted us to be able to benefit from...
Freedom and relatively safe economy, and there were...
Actually, the Winchester repeating arms plant, which is in the...
Oh, yeah. Everybody was working at Winchester.
Factory. I mean, it's not as if it was fun or a great place to spend your time on the shop floor at Winchester.
100 of them, if I remember right. That was the hardest I ever worked in my life, right here at this plant.
It's a factory, and they would also come to the Monterey after the war. But the types of songs that in the New Haven area, see, today you won't...
Great food, but the music there was legendary. During Rufus...
Well, he just came and blew and left. That's all.
And I remember when Lionel walked in and sat down right next to me. And
saxophone player, Coltrane.
And there's a tune on it called the Monterey Theme. Father's name was Rufus.
We played on Friday and Saturday night, you know. So what I would do, I'd get through high school at... Remember, just like it was yesterday, like I was telling you, we were like young kids, you know. And
It was a time of happiness all over the country. Now here I am, I got out.
veins. You look at the warships, they're over in Europe when the war was...
Just would go out and play, you know, like for fun. They'd go out and play any night of the week they could find. And they'd come up to you, you got your instrument? Come on and play, and we would.
Jam session. Nobody really had, if you had a gig in New Haven.
you did it because it was a friendly sort of competitiveness. And you did it because you actually...
I'm not afraid to share.
Very few clubs, particularly in the black community. And there was the Monterey, of course, which was one of the 4 best.
We were on Winchester Avenue
We're at a building now, which is a church. A lot of your Yale people, some professors, as well as Yale students used to come.
It's Horace Silver, Chico Hamilton, Billy Taylor, and groups like that.
And those are the days that I really, really miss because it was a day or in the evening. That was the Musicians Club, and that was located on the second floor.
There would be music going on most of the time. Count would be upstairs playing, or...
And just blow their hearts out. They just loved it. Yeah, it was great. It was
great, but he tore up the guy's drums, and he was sitting in, and the guy who had the gig, you know.
Oh, and Lillian Lumpkin ran that place. And it was great. That was downtown.
That was like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. And she would bring in players. You would think, why would Coleman Hawkins want to come to New Haven to play?
Bruce Brown was playing there one weekend, and a fight broke out, and bottles were flying all over the place. Come to much to our surprise, very crowded under there, because Horace Silver was under the piano. Horace Silver, the town, battleground. So it was funny.
Out of the bag with his horn in his tan.
How to play, and then he proceeded to learn how to read.
And I went in, and sure enough, there he was. And he really was born.
Houston could play. Tommy Brazil could play. When he opened up and pulled his horn out, that well could play. No one came in out of town and wiped.
Washington was amazing. He was an amazing piano player.
I forgot to tell you about Hank Bolden. Oh, forgive me, Hank. That's one of my favorites. She sang, she danced, and she tore the piano up.
So I don't want to make it seem like people from out of town came in, that they were...
They did, and I think people knew that they loved the music as much as they loved playing it.
He left here and went to Chicago and really made it big playing organ.
They were so interchangeable. If they had jobs that conflicted...
Musicians like Eddie Buster. Eddie Buster at that time was just playing...
Bobby was much more businesslike.
Their jam sessions.
Both Eddie and Bobby Buster were natural mentors.
The first thing that would come out of Eddie's mouth or Bobby, where's your horn?
Gig at Malcolm's, which is currently the Blues Cafe. You know, we played...
They'd be the kind of guys someone maybe didn't have all the chops necessary, but they said...
The vocalist only knew 2 tunes, it seemed. You know, they'd come every week and sing their 2 tunes.
Start out with rhythm changes and let you play. Stop at a certain point.
And we became best friends, and there was nothing he wouldn't do for me.
Play. If the club owner is willing, they can come and play with me anytime because I'm giving something back the same way.
You know, to do so.
If there's another musician of caliber in the house and they want to sit in...
Which is the bus that you do for so many years, when they've asked me...
Anybody else.
And a lot of it I learned just by watching him, observing him,
Life is all about, is a message. Family, pain, losses.
There's a feeling art form. You feel where the other person...
What God wants you to know. And I want you to understand. So in the cars and the piano player, wow, yeah.
People together, people in a large pluralistic way. Orleans, because he always had white musicians in there, and that was against the law until the day he died.
The musicians, like in the Monterey,
we had some whites that came in, and they were good.
If anything, as I remember, anything was
the head and shake whatever else you want to shake. That's what's so nice about music,
Thank you.